boys and girls. Today we're going on an educational journey to discover the function and structure of an integral protein. What is an integral protein, you say? It is a protein embedded in the membrane of a cell that regulates homeostasis.
Before we start our journey, let's take a closer look at the structure of a phospholipid. You might want to pause and take notes in this section. Here is the phosphate head. The phosphate head is hydrophillic, which means that it is attracted to water. Here are the phosphate tails. In a phospholipid structure, one tail is saturated, while the other is unsaturated. These tails are hydrophobic, meaning they avoid water. In an aqueous environment, the phosphate heads touch water, and the phosphate tails touch each other, which forms a phospholipid bilayer. The bilayer is one of three ways phospholipids can arrange themselves. We are talking about this structure because it surrounds every cell in our body. Later on, we will discuss a scientific model that emphasizes integral proteins in this bilayer.
Our journey today will make 3 stops. We'll start in Singer and Nicholson's lab, move on to the integral protein factory, and then we'll end up in the wonderful city of Boston, where we'll discover how integral proteins affect our everyday lives. Whoa! Time travel's awesome! We're about to enter the lab of S.J. Singer and Garth Nicholson. Observe. Aha! I got it! They've just discovered an effective model for the placement of proteins within the phospholipid bilayer.
I thought proteins were glommed onto the outside.
Actually, the proteins are embedded in the membrane to allow passive and active transport.
Passive and active transport? What's that?
We're going to learn about that in our next stop. Let's go. Integral proteins are embedded within the phospholipid bilayer, which allows for passive and active transport. Let's enter into the factory and observe as the protein demonstrates passive and active transport.
Get in there. Go right ahead.
Passive transport is when the integral protein allows a substance to move across the membrane with the concentration gradient. Active transport is when the integral protein pushes a substance across the membrane against the concentration gradient. This requires an energy called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP.
Final stop is Boston. Here we are discovering how integral proteins affect our lives. Integral proteins are responsible for metabolic processes such as glycolysis and aerobic metabolism. These processes are the basic functions that allow for an internal balance known as homeostasis. We've come to the end of our journey. I hope you had fun and learned how integral proteins affect our everyday lives. I know I did.